Zinedine Zidane said it in a 2006 interview, Ronaldinho said it, Roberto Carlos said it, and the man who draws Captain Tsubasa told journalists that Lionel Messi's way of playing flows through his pen into Tsubasa naturally. A Japanese cartoon is responsible for some of the greatest footballers the world has ever seen. Right now, you're going to get the real story, the production decisions, the national mission behind the show, and the specific moment one manga permanently altered the history of world football. Let's start the countdown!
As long as you work hard, nothing's impossible. You should know that.
Fact 10. The field that never ended. Nobody in the history of animated sport ever ran faster and covered less ground. Captain Tsubasa had a famously elastic relationship with time and space. A single match could unfold across multiple episodes. Players would sprint the full length of the pitch across commercial breaks, internal monologue intact, while the goal stayed at the other end of the screen. It was pacing engineered for maximum tension, and it worked brilliantly on an audience that had never watched a real match. That stretched clock was not a flaw. Yoichi Takahashi was not making a football show for football fans. He was manufacturing them. By giving every tackle and every sprint the weight of a slow-motion finale, he built the emotional architecture that would attach a generation of Japanese children to a sport their country barely played. There are players who went on to win World Cups who first fell in love with football through that exaggerated, endless run toward goal. The field never ended, and somehow, neither did their attention.
I'm sure everyone will be surprised to hear about this player draft. Yes.
Fact 9. The mission nobody knew was a mission. Before there was a show, there was a young Japanese man watching the 1978 FIFA World Cup on television and deciding he was going to change his country's relationship with football. Yoichi Takahashi watched Argentina win that tournament and came away with a specific mission. Use a manga to manufacture football fans in Japan. Not write for existing fans. Manufacture them in a country with no professional league, no World Cup appearances, and a national sport that was baseball. When Captain Tsubasa launched in Weekly Shonen Jump in 1981, the publication had a circulation of 2.5 million. By 1995, it had reached 6.5 million. Numbers that outstripped any American publication at the time. The very first episode opens with Tsubasa being asked when Japan will participate in the World Cup. His answer? One day, I'll make that come true. Japan qualified for their first World Cup in 1998 and co-hosted the tournament in 2002. Takahashi said he couldn't have imagined it becoming this popular. He was being modest. He had engineered exactly this.
But I don't think the whole team has what it takes to qualify.
Fact 8. The physics-defying strategy behind super shots. Every impossible shot in Captain Tsubasa was impossible on purpose. Takahashi filled his manga with physics-defying moves, the drive shot, the tiger shot, the Skylab hurricane, because his audience had never watched a real match and needed a reason to care. The super shots were the hook, spectacle designed to make football feel mythological before the audience had any framework for what actual football looked like. It worked. Kids who had zero interest in the sport became obsessed with recreating those moves in schoolyards, which meant they were suddenly playing football for the first time. The impossible became aspirational, and the aspirational became habit. Ronaldinho has talked about trying to replicate the shots from the show. Roberto Carlos, whose free kicks actually did defy physics in ways that produced peer-reviewed academic papers, grew up watching the series. A completely fictional, thoroughly impossible kick served as one of the most effective football recruitment tools ever invented. Nobody was running physics calculations on the drive shot. They were just trying to bend the ball like Tsubasa and falling in love with the game in the process.
I know that all of you will qualify!
Fact 7. The rival who stole the show. Captain Tsubasa had no real villain, and that turned out to be one of its most powerful creative decisions. Kojiro Hyuga was Tsubasa's fiercest rival, a physically aggressive midfielder whose tiger shot hit the net with the kind of force that reminded you this was technically a children's cartoon. But Hyuga was not evil. He was desperate, driven by the need to support his family and prove himself against a protagonist who seemed to have everything come naturally. He became the most emotionally compelling character in the series. Tsubasa could inspire you. Hyuga made you feel something closer to awe because you understood exactly what he had at stake and what it cost him. In a story built around near supernatural talent, a rival driven by family obligation and wounded pride was a quietly brilliant structural decision. Hyuga did not want to destroy Tsubasa. He wanted to beat him. That distinction is what made every match between them feel genuinely dangerous.
So to get to the national championship, I've got to be picked to be on the Minami City.
Fact 6. The creator's real football club. Most storytellers are content to let their fictional worlds stay fictional. Yoichi Takahashi is not most storytellers. Takahashi founded and manages a real Japanese football club called Nankatsu SC, named directly after Tsubasa's fictional youth team. His stated goal is to guide the club through Japan's football pyramid all the way to the J1 League, and then win the Emperor's Cup. He is not doing this as a publicity exercise. He means every word of it. This is a man who used a cartoon to help create a football culture that produced J-League stars, World Cup appearances, and the 2011 Women's World Cup, still the only Asian team to win that tournament. That was not enough, so he built a real club to continue the work the manga started. It is essentially an author deciding his protagonist's unfinished story deserves a real ending, and hiring himself to write it on an actual pitch.
Well, that's easy then. All we have to do is work really hard. That's right.
Fact 5. Tsubasa's dream move. FC Barcelona. Most fans followed Tsubasa through elementary school and junior high, and assumed the story ended somewhere around graduation. It did not. Tsubasa eventually made it to FC Barcelona. After honing his game in Brazil, he crossed to Europe and pulled on the Blaugrana shirt, cementing his place in the story's universe as a genuine world-class footballer at one of the sport's most prestigious clubs. Takahashi chose Barcelona with intention. He was writing the complete career arc of a professional footballer, youth academy through to global elite, at the moment Japan was beginning to imagine itself as a footballing country. Tsubasa's path to Camp Nou was a map for a generation. Andrés Iniesta, who actually did play for Barcelona and won the World Cup with Spain, has publicly credited Captain Tsubasa as the spark that lit his passion for football. He wore Tsubasa merchandise. He later moved to Vissel Kobe in Japan, which feels less like a late career transfer and more like a tribute. Fiction and reality had a funny way of folding into each other around this show.
We started training today, Dad. I'm really tired.
Fact 4. The story that never truly ended. When the anime ended an arc, most fans assumed the whole thing was finished. Most missed the fact that the story kept running for 4 decades. The manga continued long after the animated episodes concluded, following Tsubasa through international tournaments, professional leagues across multiple continents, Olympic competition, and World Cup campaigns. Takahashi never wrote a true ending, because for him, the dream of Japanese football reaching the summit of the world game was still in progress. There was always another tournament, another rival, another ceiling to break through. That open structure treated a fictional footballer's career the way you'd follow a real one, with setbacks, comebacks, and a horizon that never quite closes. An appropriate mirror for the country the manga helped shape. Japan's women won the World Cup in 2011. The men's team keeps qualifying, keeps advancing. For fans who always wondered what happened to Tsubasa, he's still out there, somewhere in the timeline, playing the game. The field never ended for him either, which is exactly what Fact 10 was pointing toward all along.
I want to be a soccer star like you.
Fact 3. Sanae, the fan who became legend. In a show driven entirely by football matches and impossible goals, one of the most memorable characters never once kicked a ball. Sanae Nakazawa started as the leader of Tsubasa's cheering section and became, over the manga's decades-long run, one of the most iconic female characters in Japanese sports anime. Her fierce loyalty, her refusal to stop believing when everything looked finished, and her willingness to stand in the stands through every improbable match gave her a presence the story would have been poorer without. She eventually became Tsubasa's love interest, and in the later arcs, his wife. What made Sanae resonate across 40 years was the specificity of her fire. She was not defined by passive devotion. She had opinions, convictions, and her emotional reaction in the worst moments was consistently the audience's anchor. When things fell apart on the pitch, you checked Sanae's face first. In a series famous for physics-breaking shots and marathon episodes, the fact that so many fans remember her as vividly as they remembered Tsubasa is a quiet testament to how well Takahashi understood that passion, not just talent, is what makes a story unforgettable.
Well, I'm coming too. Yeah!
Fact 2. The Nation Tsubasa Built. A manga about a fictional boy playing football helped reshape the sporting identity of an entire nation, and the numbers are not close. Before Captain Tsubasa debuted in 1981, Japan had no professional football league and no World Cup appearances. The anime reached a generation of Japanese children who had no prior connection to the sport and gave them one. Those children grew up, picked up the game, and became the foundation of a culture that hadn't existed before. The Japanese Football Association has explicitly acknowledged this, coaches, officials, and the players themselves pointing to Tsubasa as the catalyst. Japan's first legendary domestic footballer, Hidetoshi Nakata, said he had no sporting heroes before watching Tsubasa, that he fell in love with football because of it. still practices moves inspired by the manga, and does not watch actual matches because, in his words, Tsubasa is better than the Calcio and the Premier League combined. That is Japan's most celebrated footballer, saying the cartoon beats the real thing. There's also a cultural consequence that tends to get overlooked. The manga created a nation of midfielders. Honda, Minamino, Kagawa, Nakata, all attacking midfielders. Everyone wanted to be Tsubasa, playing that 10 position between the lines. One fictional career template, 40 years of imitation.
What? Roberto has quit the team?
Fact 1. The legends Tsubasa actually made. Here is where the story stops being about a cartoon. Zinedine Zidane grew up watching the French dubbed version, Olive et Tom, in Marseille, and has said directly it shaped his love of football. Ronaldinho and Roberto Carlos grew up with the Brazilian version and have spoken about its influence. Andrés Iniesta publicly credited the series, wore the merchandise, and moved to Japan to play for Vissel Kobe. Fernando Torres said he started playing football because of his favorite cartoon, Oliver and Benji in Europe. Alessandro Del Piero's social media profile picture was a drawing made by Takahashi himself. Alexis Sanchez has the complete manga collection at home. These are not casual endorsements. These are multiple Ballon d'Or winners, World Cup champions, and Hall of Fame footballers, placing a Japanese anime at the origin of their careers. And then there is Messi. Takahashi was asked which current player most inspires the way he draws Tsubasa today. His answer was immediate. Messi's way of playing flows through me into Tsubasa naturally. The man who created the fictional player, the one who inspired the real ones, says the greatest real player now influences the fictional one back. The circle closed somewhere between a manga page and the Bernabeu, and nobody fully noticed. Takahashi watched a World Cup as a young man and decided he was going to make Japanese children love football. He used one manga to do it. The side effect was every name you just heard. That is without question the wildest production story in the history of sports anime, and possibly in the history of sport itself.
There's lots of time till the district finals.
Bonus fact, the Roberto Hongo thread. One detail in this story tends to get overlooked, and it is too good to leave out. The mentor who first recognizes Tsubasa's potential is a Brazilian footballer named Roberto Hongo. Takahashi did not choose Brazil arbitrarily. He anchored his story in the country synonymous with football artistry and global prestige, at exactly the moment Japan was beginning to imagine itself as a footballing nation. Takahashi has said his discovery of Brazilian football and an actual visit to the country were integrated directly into the story. Real players he admired, including Rivaldo, were converted into characters. Roberto Hongo pointed toward the horizon and told Tsubasa to run. Ronaldinho and Roberto Carlos grew up watching that scene, then ran themselves. The fictional mentor and the real ones were pointing the same direction all along. Captain Tsubasa was never just a show about football. It was a blueprint for how passion, channeled through storytelling, can genuinely move the world, and the specific players in it too. Which fact hit hardest for you? Was it the World Cup champions who traced their careers back to a Japanese manga? Or the fact that Takahashi built a real football club to finish the story he started on paper? Let us know in the comments. That debate is going to get heated. Tsubasa is still running. The pitch still hasn't ended.